It was going to require me getting a bank loan of
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 to be able to support this client, which would have earned me maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And I panicked. I let that inner voice, say you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to do it. Imposter syndrome. Who am I to take on a client this big, right? And so I ended up selling that business rather than taking the loan, taking a little more risk and growing that business. I look back, and that is one of my biggest regrets.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lunide Lewis, and today I have the honor of introducing a very magnificent guest to the show, Todd Snively. We are going to talk about all things Amazon and his expert university because he has an extensive history in a wide variety of businesses, which he created going back to 1983. Todd was a highly successful commodity trader in the late 90s and early 2000s. And after moving on from the financial trading scene, he decided to lend his skills and expertise to selling customer return goods online and eventually blew that up and started selling on Amazon. And by the end of 2009, he's made millions through this venture. So he now operates Expert University, which is an educational platform that teaches users how to sell effectively and successfully on Amazon. Todd preaches and teaches mindset and resiliency, and we are going to cover some of that as well today. So, with no further ado, Todd, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real privilege to be here.
I'm so glad you are here. I want to get into your ventures, but first tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. How did it all started? From financial trading to finding some customer goods. How did that even come about?
It's kind of I look back now. I'm going to be 59 real soon here next month, and I look
Congrats,
back
you
at.
look great.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you so much. I was actually thinking of having my eyes fixed.
We'll see.
In any event, that's my vanity poking through right there.
We all
But
got it.
I remember, man, when I was growing up, we did not grow up with money in any way, shape, or form. I didn't know if people with money were green, had pointed ears. I had no idea. It wasn't until I was about 14, I was actually a caddy at a very exclusive country club that I met my first, what I'll call wealthy or well-off people.
Yeah.
And it was at that point, 14 years old, I'm looking at this disparity between their lifestyles and what mine and my friends' lifestyles were. And I said, I want to try to figure out how to have more of that
Yeah.
as I grow up. And there was like no rule book or way to figure it out. It was all a hit and miss for me. And so it was like this desire just to live in that kind of a world rather than the world I grew up in, which I didn't enjoy at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I came across, I was actually listening to the radio, a talk show, and it basically said that every one of us has no less than 6 ideas every year that, if properly implemented, would make us $1 million, make us a millionaire. And that was my wake up call. I said, wait a minute. Those little voices in my head were actually useful. I should like listen to them and then implement what they tell me to do, because I was having ideas left and right, but
Yeah.
no way to implement. I had no idea that the ideas were worth listening to. And that was
Yeah.
kind of how it all started with the first business in '83.
Yeah, they're not there to haunt you. They're actually here to guide you. We sometimes fail to tune in and listen in. But I love that on your 5 to 6 ideas a year. If we kind of pick one and stick to it and implement it, execute it, because then that will be fruitful. We tend to give up too at the first sight of failure. So tell us about your how do you navigate failure, because you've been at it, since over 30 plus years. It wasn't, I'm sure, it wasn't a walk in the park each time.
No, and like I said, I really didn't have any mentors back then. So it was quite scary. And matter of fact, as far as my biggest regret was with that first business. I had an opportunity to really grow it. I had a client, a huge client, wanted me to do some work for him, but it was going to require me getting a bank loan of
Mhm.
$50,000 to be able to support this client, which would have earned me maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
And I panicked. I let that inner voice, say you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to do it. Imposter syndrome. Who am I to take on a
yeah.
client this big, right? And so I ended up selling that business rather than taking the loan, taking a little more risk and growing that business. I look back, and that is one of my biggest regrets from back in 1983, 84. Instead, what I did was I was actually a pilot at the time. I actually had my pilot's license before my
What?
driver's license.
Look
I
at that.
soloed an airplane on my 16th birthday. My older sister, had to drive me to the airport for my flying lessons because I didn't have a driver's license. But I had this desire. I was actually in the Air Force also. People ask me if I ever had a real job. I've had two. I was in the Air Force.
Mhm.
And when I got out, I had this first business. And then when I sold that, I took the money, finished my professional pilot training, and I actually flew under contract for the post office and UPS for a while.
Wow.
That taught me a few things. It taught
Mhm.
me a few things. It taught me don't ever, that whole saying about taking what you love and doing it as a job, and that's all crap. Okay. Because that job aspect took what I love and just beat the snot out of it. And I hated it doing
After
it
a
for a
while,
living.
yeah.
Yeah. Plus, at the height of my career flying, all single pilot at night, dodging tornadoes, I made $28,000 a year. So at that point, I started to go back and listen to those inner voices and say, you need to make money. You need to
Mhm.
make more money. Right. So I stopped the flying and started my next business. And what I learned, I had a wonderful mentor by this time. His name was Les Brown. You may have heard of him.
Yes, I know
He's
Les
well.
Brown. You mentored under him. That's
Les would say,
fantastic.
Les would say, Todd, you're either in the trouble, headed for the trouble, or you've just left the trouble. So understand that, number one. And number two, how you deal with the in-betweens, and those bad times will determine how happy you are and successful in your life.
Mhm.
That one single thing has stuck with me all these years because it's always proven to be true. You're either dealing with something, you've just got done dealing with something, or something is headed for you that you don't even know. So if you understand that life, that's just life.
Mhm.
Everybody is in that situation. I don't think anybody
Is
has made it
exempt.
through life without having, dealt with an issue, right?
Yeah.
So once I really internalized that, it opened my eyes. Wow, I actually have control now over stumbling blocks. And the stumbling blocks are no longer going to be imaginary. They're real stumbling blocks. I have to deal with them or I'm never going to move forward. You have to go, through, over, or around. You can never go backwards. Matter of fact, one of the biggest motivators, someone asked, when people put those stumbling blocks in front of them, I tell them, look, imagine you're on a bridge, pour some gasoline over your shoulder and throw a match. You got
Mhm.
nowhere to go but forward now.
Yeah.
Standing still or going backwards is not an option. And people are just too comfortable, I think, in their own when they create their stumbling blocks. They're just too comfortable. And sometimes it takes a real crisis to bring the kind of change necessary to wake people up. And you just hope that crisis isn't so big, it just takes them out of the game
It
altogether.
it's inevitable. It's Viktor Frankl called it unavoidable suffering. It's going to happen. You got to be prepared for it. And it's what you do when it happens. It's how you behave when it happens. So I love that you put it in the words of Les Brown. It's either you're coming out of something, you're heading towards it, or you're in it. So either way.
Exactly. Yeah, life, it's not especially business. People that have never run their own business, they think they want to start a business, and all they see are the rainbows and the unicorns and the dollar signs. And I'm like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
You have to be honest with people. I tell people I'm self-employed, and they go, well, that's great. So you must not work, very hard. And I'm like, well, the truth is I only work half days. But the good thing is I get to pick which 12 hours,
Right.
so they don't get
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
It, it,
But
it has it does now for the success. that, when you were growing up, you're saying, how come these people that you are working for at that young age, and the caddy boy, what makes them so different? What did you come up with?
A lot of it started with mindset, right?
Mindset.
Especially the self-made people. They just had a goal and nothing was going to stop them. Their mind was right. And the resiliency factor was huge with these people. And I used to think resiliency was something that these guys were born with. But as I was very precocious as a 14-year-old caddy. I had these successful people's ears, and in between shots when they were just standing there, I'd ask them questions, right? And it was kind of funny. I'll never forget this one guy. I asked him, so what do you do for a living? And you know what he told me? He told me he was a butcher. All right. Now back then I didn't have the internet to go look it up, but eventually I heard he had passed, and I went and I read his obituary. He wasn't a butcher. He owned meat packing
Mm.
plants all over the country, but he called himself a butcher. I thought that was very interesting. But the resiliency, it's something I discovered. It's something everybody can develop. We're
Mhm.
not born with the resiliency. Resiliency is something we have to learn and internalize. And it's one of the most difficult traits to
and
pick up.
and we do that through failure, right? Yeah, I feel like it
And
brings
you
us
can
right back to that.
only you can only do it through failure.
That's
Right?
interesting. So that's one of the dark side of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
It's the failure, becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I remind everybody, well, look at Thomas Edison, 10,000 quote unquote failures until he made the light bulb. Why do you think you should be any different? Are you that good of an entrepreneur, never having done anything entrepreneurial, that you're not going to have some challenges right ahead of you? Wake up. It's coming. It's coming. Get ready. And don't fall apart when it happens. And the best way to deal with that I found is to surround yourself with the right people. You find the people that are not toxic in your life,
Yeah.
the ones not trying to hold you down, the ones that are like-minded, and especially ones that have accomplished what you're attempting to accomplish. That one single thing woke me up like you
Yeah.
wouldn't believe. When I started putting the negative, toxic people out of my life and surrounding myself with the successful entrepreneurs, it was inevitable that I was going to become a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill puts it best. When two or three are gathered, they create a third mind, right? So that's that mastermind.
Oh, there's that power in that synergy. Matter of fact, I've tried this many times with through partnerships, right? You try to take two people and have the exponential benefit. I've had terrible luck with partners up until my most recent one, who's been a business partner of mine since 2015. Best guy in the world. I finally am getting the benefit of
Yeah.
partnership, right? But
Right.
if you're not, even if you're not having a partner, I love that word you use, mastermind. That's the gathering of the like-minded people in a non-toxic, safe environment so that you can grow,
Yeah.
and they allow you to grow, and what you bring to the table, which you may not even realize what it is, allows them to grow. A very good synergistic relationship. Matter of fact, it's a ridiculous amount of money. I think last year it was maybe in excess of $80,000 just to further my development through masterminds and coaches and things like that. People
Yeah.
laugh at that. They look at like, what do I need a coach for? I'm like, well, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And it's that investment in yourself. It's important because
It never stops. It should never stop.
right.
Right.
You stop learning, you might as well be dead, right?
Yeah, give up. You're done. If you think you know it all and it's not going to get any better, well, you should just retire and go away.
Go away.
People ask me all the time, hey, when are you going to retire? And I said, what do I got to retire for? I love what I'm doing. Well, don't you have enough money? I said, yeah, but I love what I'm doing. Why would I stop?
It's purpose.
And I asked my wife, I say, hey, are you okay if I'm 80 years old and still, mentoring and doing business and like that? She goes, if it makes you happy, what do I care?
Yeah.
Either that or I'm playing golf all the time, which I think would be boring, but
Yeah.
whatever.
It's purpose. You have a purpose. You found your purpose. You find joy in that. That's what happens when we actually do what we enjoy, what adds value. Because it's not just money, as you say. It's actually it's contribution to society. It's
Yeah.
contribution to other people's lives, and that is in direct proportion to our what we get paid. The more you get paid, the more value you're adding.
Well,
Essentially, sure.
and to add to that, what's really interesting, people ask me, hey, Todd, how do you define success, right? And for a longest time, it was all a financial thing. Now, over the last 10 years, what I've learned is, in my mind, success is being able to do what you want with your time, right? You control your time as opposed to the other way around. People that are trading time for money, that's no good in my book. You have to have control of your time. And when you have control of your time, then you're able to help others and do the things that really mean something. Like the businesses that I started that you were talking about, selling, my core business of selling on Amazon, selling these products, is 100% outsourced. And so I got the business 100% outsourced, and then people started to ask me, how did you do that? Right. So now then it circled back to, well, okay, maybe I should, start showing people how not only to start the business, but how to get it outsourced 100%. And I spend maybe 20 minutes a day on that core business. And it's just reading financials like a true CEO and just looking for, any red flags, and then dealing with my manager if something like that pops up.
Awesome. Tell us about more about Amazon for those who are getting into it, who's studying. My husband and I actually have an Amazon product we created, and we have a brand that we are on Amazon selling. What are some tips to successfully thrive in that space?
Sure. So you're what we call, from what you just said, a private label seller. You created your own product and your own brand. All right. There's lots of, by the way, there's several different models of selling on Amazon. Private label is one of them. The one that we suggest that the average person that has never done anything on Amazon should do is something called the wholesale model. All right. And right now, especially because of the events of 2020, the wholesale model has never been better. And the gist of it is you are going to sell products that are already selling profitably, but they need additional what's called competitive sellers. See, Amazon has this goal of eventually 1 hour delivery to the maximum number of customers they can. They have the 2-day delivery. Some places they have the one day delivery. And then in the huge metropolitan areas, they test the 1 hour delivery, right? They can only do this if they maximize the number of competitive sellers on every name brand product on the site. And there's over 500 million products. Okay. And there's constantly new ones coming in. So we train people to use a software to identify the products that they can purchase that need additional competitive sellers. And then it's all about inventory management. So the business model itself, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I even hate, I get on a plane. Someone says, what do you do for a living? I just tell them I cut grass because it's, I can put them to sleep explaining.
You learn a lot from that butcher.
True.
It's humbling. It's modest.
It's a very data-driven business that is unsexy because we don't sell sexy products. I mean, I'll sell rat poison right next to the baby food. It's just, it doesn't matter. They're products that need additional competitive sellers. They're already selling. Like with your private label product, you had to develop a brand name. You had to get the product sourced out of maybe China or India. You had to make product photos. You had to write a description, a title, bullet points, back-end SEO. You don't have to do any of that with wholesale. You just have to have a source that'll sell you these products at a price that you can be profitable, and then identify which ones need additional competitive stuff. We do it all with software.
And this is all within Amazon, or do I have to go Alibaba to find the source?
All of the sources are in the United States. There's they're called wholesale distributors. There's over 260,000 of them in the United States, but there's only a handful that are the ones you want to deal with. There's like 200 or 300 really, really good ones that's the secret sauce. See, the very first thing people will say, where do I get these products? And I'm like, yeah, that's the secret, isn't it? Right. So I can't just tell you, because that's the work. That's the stuff that we spent 10 years figuring out, is who to deal with.
And so you're changing your products. So you have a variety of different things. Like you said, the rat poison, like you're buying several different products, random products, not called.
It's all numbers driven. That's why people say, what do you sell? So, well, I'm not even sure. I have to go look, but I can tell you how much money I'm making, kind of a thing. And so the people that like do the best with our program were like in the IT field. You know, they're really good with computers or accountants. But we've got like famous musicians in our group, politicians. I mean, people whose names you would know that either do it because they, you know, want their significant other to have a little business,
Yeah.
or I can't really. I don't think I should say his name, but there was recently a long time country singer passed away. Half of his band ended up in our program because, you know, they knew they still needed to make money, and they've
Right.
been playing with this guy for 30 years,
Mhm.
right? So it doesn't matter as long as people are capable of learning and they can deal with. There is some monotony to it, you know. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's numbers driven. There's spreadsheets. There's software. But if someone's goal is to be selling on Amazon the right way, we show them this model. Then
Yeah.
after that, the people that they're making really good money and they're a little want to take on a little more risk, then we show them private label. I applaud you for launching private label right out of the gate on Amazon. It's probably the hardest thing that you can do. So the fact you've been successful is like, you know, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. We have to worry about inventory. Tell us about inventory for your model.
All right, the way inventory actually, the model is a wide model, not a deep model. Your model is deep, so you got maybe one or a few products under your
Mhm.
brand, and you have to order a lot of them all at once.
Yeah.
You might get a 6 month supply. Okay, with our model, we'll have hundreds of products. All right, and these products are maybe only selling 100 units a month each. Right, so it becomes a reordering game, and so you might have to get two or three suppliers for the same product because just like your model, private label, you don't want to run out of stock,
Yeah.
right? Because when you don't have stock, you're losing profit. So you want to maintain. But with our model, you can, if something does fall off for whatever reason, or you can't get stock, which was very prevalent in 2020, where basically we had 7 years of sales on Amazon compressed into about a 3 month period of time.
Nice.
So inventory everywhere. People were running out of everything, but it's getting back to normal now.
Mhm.
But you want to have a few suppliers. And if something does fall off, it doesn't matter. If you have 100 products, you have one fall off, that's 1%. It's so you just replace that because there's always something else out there. People will generally run out of money to buy the products themselves, you know, inventory, before they run out of products to buy. So,
Understand. And
yeah.
so you're using FBA then? Or you're keeping this
Yeah.
in the house, say if I'm starting like tomorrow.
We have people all over the world, they've never seen a product because you order it from the supplier. You find a 3PL, a third party logistics company
Mhm.
near that supplier, have it sent there. They do the inspection, the prep, and they ship it to your FBA account. It's completely hands off that way. So this is when I say I've 100% outsourced my business. I now have people that find the suppliers, people that analyze the inventory file, decide what to buy, people that deal with the 3PL, and then deal with other aspects of the business, bookkeeping and such and such. So you know, I mean, if somebody was getting started, we have a whole database, so they don't have to find the suppliers. Just use these suppliers. Go open with these people. And I mean, if we had 200 suppliers, our average member opens with maybe 3, 4, 5 because they can't afford to buy. You know, see, somebody asked me that also. They go, "Why do you teach this? Why don't you just buy everything that's profitable?" I'm like, you know what? Uh, Jeff Bezos couldn't afford to buy all of the inventory,
Yeah.
and he tried because he tried and he failed. He actually, like, about, I think it was 2018, in his annual letter to his shareholders, basically said third party sellers, that's people like me and you, third party sellers are kicking our butt. So we're going to stop working with the name brands. We're going to leave it to you guys to buy the inventory, establish the relationships, do the restocking, because basically we stink at it. You guys do a
Yeah.
better job. So, you know, you got to
Is
be nimble.
yeah, of course. Agility is the game is the name of the game here. Now, what about per se? Well, I guess with Amazon, they're doing Amazon brands. Is that along the line of the wholesale? Like they get it, put their own brand on it. Explain that to us.
Right. So that's actually a very interesting question. Amazon is just like, think of it like a big trying to think of a store that's everyone's going to know, like a
Costco.
Walgreens, Costco. All right. Actually, Walmart is a better idea, I think.
Okay.
So you go into Walmart, right? And let's say you want a certain kind of cereal. Maybe you like Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
How'd you
And you
know?
do you like the chocolate ones? I love the chocolate ones. Oh my goodness. And so you find them on the shelf. And what's right next to them? Walmart's brand
Yeah.
of Frosted Flakes for less money. Amazon does the same thing. They go, you know what? We sell an awful lot of Frosted Flakes. Let's just make an Amazon Frosted Flakes or an HDMI cable. Let's make an Amazon Basics brand HDMI cable. And they're giving
Right.
consumers choice, is what they're doing. And people can decide whether they want this brand or Amazon's brand. And that's actually Amazon getting in the private label business, is what they're doing. So, why they might private label something, it's no different than Walmart doing it or any big retailer. It gives the consumer a choice. Now, in the wholesale model, let's say they come out with an Amazon brand of one of the products we're selling, right? Maybe it's baby aspirin, I don't know. And all of a sudden, we see the sales of that baby aspirin falling because Amazon's taking a little market share.
Yeah.
No big deal. We just go get another product because there's over 500,000. If
I
you're a
see.
private label seller, and let's say you have a baby monitor, your branded baby monitor, and Amazon goes, oh, we're selling a lot of baby monitors, many brands. We should make an Amazon Basics baby monitor. If you start losing market share as a private label seller, that hurts.
Mm,
That's your product,
right.
right? What are you going to do? So, this is why I tell people there's much less risk in wholesale, but the margins are also lower. In your case, and I don't know what they are, but your margins could be 100, 200, 300%.
Right.
And when you get a good product launched properly, you can make $1 million a year easily.
Yeah.
With wholesale, our margins are more like 25, 28%. Still good, but it's not, like I said, it's not exciting like a private label brand that you own, it's your
Yeah.
baby, and you have huge margins.
Right. And
You
it's
got,
designed, it's created, right? There's nothing like it out there on the market yet anyway. Nobody has copied it or made a replica of it. So Walmart, I forgot what their brand name is. I think it's not. I think it's Signature or something. And Costco does the same thing. So that's what that is. They're in the branding business now. They're
yeah.
tapping it
Uh,
because they see the numbers, they see what is selling, and they want a piece of the pie. Now, is it equal to quality? Is it about similar to the original?
that's another great question. By the way, I have a home in China. I live in China part of the year. My wife is Chinese. That's the only way I could have a home in China. So I've been to a lot of the factories over there, and you'll see the biggest name brands in the world coming off of their assembly line, and then a brand you'd never heard of, identical quality. So you do have that, but you have the other side of the coin too, where it looks a lot like the high quality brand, but it is lesser quality. You can get it done any way you want, in a country like China that is pretty much all manufacturing.
It's all
So
about the cost, right? How much it's gonna cost you to manufacture it, to make it. What
exactly.
the quality you're looking for? Because it all depends how much you're gonna sell it for.
Right. And I have private label brands. And I always, when I talk to the factories in China, I stress upon them, I want quality.
Mm-hmm.
I want the best that we can make this. And I'll pay for that. And I'll reflect it in the price that it sells for. Because I don't think consumers, they know that game. They don't want to pay less and get bad quality. They're to the point now where, no, I know I need to pay for quality, and they're willing to do it for the right product.
You gotta know your audience. You gotta know your target
Give
audience
them what they
because
want.
yeah,
The best way to do that, it's kind of interesting when we're doing private label, we're looking at the product reviews. So if somebody says, oh, geez, I wish this thing had a strap, or, well, this thing has a strap, but the strap breaks all the time. Well, either now add a strap, and if you do, make it high quality, right?
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you're just going to get more complaints.
The customer feedback, it's great to actually build a furthermore the product, enhance the product to make it better so that you're giving them precisely what they want. And there's this notion, and we're going to get into marketing and in your morning routine in a bit. There's this notion like make it cheap, sell it cheaper, get it more volume. But there's a need for higher quality product. People are willing to pay for that. There's people out there.
Yeah. And people might disagree with what I'm about to say, but what I've learned is the less you charge for something, the less somebody pays, the more difficult of a customer they are. So if you want to deal with higher quality customers, sell higher quality products. And I know that's a blanket statement, but it's just what I've seen. So, being an entrepreneur, you want your life not to be difficult, right? So
Right.
why add difficulty to it by saying I'm going to sell cheap products? No, sell more expensive products, and
More.
you're going to have a much higher, more loyal, want to buy from you more of a customer base.
Yeah, and especially for you, we're going to talk about the Expert University. It comes with a price ticket because of the value it adds. So there's a need to actually show the benefits up front, give people a taste, because it's harder to sell. And for me, I sell as a habit psychologist. One thing I do share is coaching and teaching people how to build habits. It's a service, and sometimes the ticket price scare people away. And
Here's
so,
the thing, we get all kinds of people contact us all the time. And I had a really hard time dealing with this when we started to sell training back in 2015.
mhm.
People would call up and they'd say, you know what, I'm homeless. I'm living out of my car. I don't know what I'm going to do. Help me learn how to do this. And it was breaking my heart. And I try and I try and try. You know what I found out? People, you have to have resources, right? You have to have resources to be able to have a higher chance of success. And a lot of people, they weren't putting any value. Like if I'm willing just to help you for free, that's the value they put on it. Well, this isn't worth anything. So
Mhm.
either they're not serious, or it was just a waste of time. Once we actually started charging for our consulting and our training programs, and to your point, made it more of a high ticket, high value proposition, the quality of people coming into the program showed that the success rate went way up, right? So it's interesting because let's say we have a vetted. Nobody's a guinea pig, right? We've done over 6,000 people through our program, so nobody's a guinea pig. If two people come in and they have the exact same step 1 through 10, and one makes $1 million and one doesn't do anything, what's the variable? And
Mhm.
people don't like to hear, well, you're the variable, right? If somebody else can do it, why can't you do it? It's mindset 9 times out of 10. It's these imaginary stumbling blocks. It's the only thing that separates the successful people from the ones that give up, or, they also, people aren't used to working. They all, because all of the, oh boy, now I'm on my rant box. These internet gurus that are like, yeah, just give me money and I'm going to give you a button to push and dollars are going to fall from the sky. Oh, does that drive me crazy? I tell people, no, this is work. This is a real, legitimate, long term business that
Right.
you have to work at. Not everybody hears that message. And they come into the program and they think they've actually accomplished something just by paying to come into the program. No, you haven't accomplished anything. Now you have to put in the work. And as soon as it gets difficult, they hear that ding dong in their email box and they find the little 19-year-old that totally wants to be your life coach for $10,000. And they go, oh, that sounds easy. And they get distracted with
Yeah.
that shiny object syndrome. That's another killer to success right there.
Yeah, shiny objects. Tell us about, you've been successful over the years. You have to be disciplined. You have to have habits in place. I know you outsource everything. Even that took some processing to actually successfully put in place. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? What is your morning routine like?
You know what? I'm kind of the antithesis of the morning routine, and I know that might make your teeth crawl a little bit when you hear that. But I'm a real big believer of the last thing I do at night is determine what I want to do when I get up, and it's in my mind when I go asleep what's important to me to accomplish the next day, so that when I wake up, even just as I'm barely awake, I have a purpose to get out of bed for.
Yeah.
Because I think people without that purpose, they have no reason to get out of bed. They just, and that's a bad place to be.
Mhm.
So I always, when I wake up, I already know what I'm looking to accomplish that day. Now, full disclosure, I'm not one of those early riser, millionaire morning 5 a.m. rah rah guys. I'm just not. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, I might work 2 hours a day. So I don't need, I'm not working another job, right? I'm just doing what I want to do. So
Mhm.
I don't care if that 2 hours a day is at 5 a.m., noon, 3 in the afternoon. I'm going to get my 2 hours in where it feels good for me. People ask me, well, what time do you wake up? And the answer is literally when I wake up. You know,
Yeah.
I don't use an alarm. Let my body wake me up because I'm a big believer in giving your body what it needs. If I'm not waking up, my body needs sleep.
Yeah.
And getting up at 5 a.m. Religiously might be a good thing for some people on their journey, which is why I don't want to poo-poo it. But for me personally, where I am right now, I'm not an early riser. I would.
What about consuming content? I mean, you have to have listen. You have mentors, right? Those are the things. Like, what do you do to prep you, to prime you for the day for success?
Greatest thing in the world is this little cell phone because it holds a program called Audible, and I'm a firm believer that everybody should be consuming Audible content
Yeah.
at whatever time is convenient for them, whether it's in their car, whether it's while they're brushing their teeth, whether they're on their treadmill, whatever.
Yeah.
Consume the content that's going to allow you to accomplish something to move you closer to your goal every single day. The last book I just read was called "You Can't Hurt Me," or yeah, "You Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL, who the story is just absolutely amazing. And not that I would want to be a Navy SEAL, but everything
Mm-hmm.
translates. And I still listen to Les Brown.
Yeah.
You
Same
can't
here.
listen to Les Brown one time and you're done. No, it's something that you're going to pick up more and more from as you journey through your life. So I like the motivational speakers. I like the personal development speakers. Jim Rohn,
Yeah.
was another
Zig
one.
Ziglar.
And then Zig Ziglar. And when there's actionable content, like maybe I've just joined a mastermind, I'll have downloaded all of their audio stuff onto my phone. And when I'm walking, I'm a big walker. People say, "What do you do for exercise?" All I do is walk
Mhm.
2 miles in the morning, 2 miles at night. And I try to watch what I eat. Now, I've been traveling the last couple of weeks, and boy, that routine of mine just has blown up. So I got to get settled back down somewhere. I
It
think the
gets
next place I'm going,
challenging.
it's too challenging for me,
With walking.
Yeah.
This is great. You gotta feed the mind. That's the message here. Feed your mind, because you can't change the world you have with the same mind that created it. Albert Einstein said that. You
And,
gotta.
and and set those goals, because without a goal, you're just kind of wandering. You're hoping that something good's going to happen. Well, figure out what you want to happen and then figure out what you have to do to make that happen, and simply do that,
Yeah.
right?
I can
And
talk to you forever. Zig Ziglar says you can't hit a target you do not have.
there you go.
If you
And
don't see
people,
it,
and I'll
yeah.
tell you, the people that we said this already, the people that go, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, I don't need that. They're the ones that need it the most,
Yeah.
right? If they can't quote things like this, they haven't learned these things. It's not automatically internalized just because you're breathing and walking around. You haven't had enough experience to
Yeah.
know what it is you don't know. And that's
Yeah.
the single most valuable thing I think a person can know, is understand there's things you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of arrogance falls away. A lot of, then your mind is more open. Boy, I've just changed so much. I look back on my lifetime, even back to when I didn't like who I was, because of the things I didn't know that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of eye-opening experiences along the way. And you want people to experience this change with the least amount of crisis, right? You don't want people to run into a crisis and then say, "Oh, I have to change." But it is so hard because they're so comfortable sometimes in their dysfunction, and they can't see the dysfunction until it's too late sometimes. And we try to make people aware that this is the case sometimes and wake them up. And the people that realize that and make that change receive rewards that they don't even understand where they're coming from, right?
Right. Yeah. So tell us, how do we get in contact with you? Where do we find Expert University?
Well, I'll tell you what. For your listeners, if anyone's really interested in getting into this wholesale model of selling on Amazon, because Amazon needs a lot of new sellers, okay? I've set up a free training program, no cost, nothing. Just go to wholesaleproductmastery.com and go through it. And if you like it, if you understand what's going on and it's something you want to really get into, there'll be a ways there for you to advance your training.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Todd. This has been amazing. Thank you for bringing on all things Amazon and also just mindset and the resiliency and helping us understand the dark side of entrepreneurship. Like you're either in something, coming from something, or you're getting into it. So brace yourself for impact as a pilot, right?
Oh boy, that's the last thing you want to hear is a pilot say, "Oh crap."
But that's life.
Privilege,
As we say,
as
as it's been a pleasure talking to you and having you on the show. I look forward to sharing this with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.